Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. Namely, today is the new moon, right? The new moon in Leo. And that means that later on today, when the moon does go into the new stage, that we have an opportunity for new beginnings and for maybe taking off in a new direction, doing something that is different, is unique to us. You'll notice this morning I named the show Awakening Our Inner Child because that's kind of how I feel that this moon is really speaking to. It's giving us something new, something different to play with. And often I think that means kind of going backwards a little bit, backwards to the time when you were a child and what was it that made you excited then? And what was it that you wanted to be a part of as a child? Who did you want to be when you grew up? Because sometimes I think we lose that in the rush to become an adult. And then we take on the world in its adult needs for responsibility, etc. So Leo reminds us then that there's a time and a place for being all business. And then there's a time and a place for being a child. And then there is also the time where you decide that you're going to go back to your childhood ways, not your childish ways, but to those parts of you that as a child you really resonated with. I remember when I was a kid that I really wanted to grow up and be a teacher. I would set up my dolls and my friends, they would all be sitting in rows and I'd have my encyclopedias out and I'd be teaching them from the encyclopedias. It was really kind of funny now that I look back. And yet I could never quite organize myself around going to school to be a teacher. There's just something that kept telling me that's not your place, even though I kept wanting to do that. And even when I did go to college, I was studying biology and chemistry at the time. And I thought, oh, I could be a high school biology teacher or a high school chemistry teacher. Yeah, well, that didn't work out either. Here is the place where I was meant to be. So playing with my inner child's need to teach took on a completely different life. And I bet if all of you took the time to look backwards, go back to the time when you were a kid, what was it that really made you excited? What did you love to do? What did you dream of becoming one day? Because that's what this particular new moon is calling us back to. And I see a whole bunch of people joining us this morning. Good morning, J-Lo and Andy Girl, Kimberly, Courtney, and Amy Energy, hello, hello. Jackie Piccola, good morning. Kimberly Eberhardt says, today I'm making time for cartoon watching. I love it. And maybe cartoon drawing afterwards, right? Loanne, good morning, Sally. And Patricia says, hello to everybody. Sally, I wanted to learn Russian. Did you ever do it? Did you ever do that, Sally? I want to know. Good morning, Allison and Mimi. Hello to you. Everybody and anybody who I'm not seeing as saying hello to all of you. And this morning, of course, we have a lot to talk about. I am so sorry for yesterday. That was such a plain and simple pain in my neck, but oh well. Some things, yesterday morning it was funny because I woke up and I thought, oh, I don't really want to get up and I don't want to get moving. I certainly don't want to have to get dressed and put on my makeup and get on the show. I wanted to be with all of you for sure, but not necessarily having to be on task. But I got myself up and I got in the shower, got ready, and then got to my computer and saw something simple, right? Something simple, an update to the iCloud. Clicked on that and then it wanted to restart. And I went, okay, well, I'm not too far into the day. I can restart. Then all the trouble began. Apparently there was maybe a big Windows update. It did take a while finally when we realized that that was the issue, that somehow my computer missed, mostly because I didn't have it on all weekend long. I was busy. So who knew, right? 2 hours later, I finally had it all solved, but it was too late by then to come on. But we do have a lot to talk about today, as the new moon is not only is it a new moon, it's a highly energetic new moon. So let's start talking about the new moon. Then we'll go into the other transits and questions that I have for you for the day. And we'll get into our Pleiadian Earth energy. So first, let's talk about the new moon. Today, I've titled it Awakening Our Inner Child, just because I feel like the degree it's at and the energy of Leo itself is just waiting for us, like prompting us to get back to that part of us that was so enthusiastic about life, right? The world right now is so crazy and so many things going on, and it's just beating us down. I feel like even some days for me, who I'm like the perpetual cheerleader and cheerful person, ends up feeling sometimes like I don't know if I can carry this weight of this world anymore. And if I'm feeling that, I know a lot of other people are. So here's our opportunity to get back to the basics. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What makes you smile? What could you do all day long if you had the opportunity to do it? So that's what we're talking about today with this particular new moon. The new moon occurs at 26 degrees, 30 minutes, 35 minutes of Leo. So I just rounded it to 26. It will occur at 7:42 p.m. Pacific time, 10:42 p.m. East Coast time. For those of you in Europe, it will be 2:42 a.m. in Universal time tomorrow morning. So it bridges over into the next day. So of course, then I always like to look at the degree that the moon will be sitting at, or whatever planet I'm dealing with. In this case, I'm dealing with the sun and the moon in a conjunction, i.e. new moon. And the degree that it's at. And I use my Rudyard's book, which who knows what I did with it after I was playing with it this morning. Well, you know which one I'm talking about, my little one, the 360 degrees of the sky. And this is what you find for this particular degree. The luminescence of dawn in the eastern sky. And the keynote means the exalting challenge of new opportunities at the threshold of a new cycle. Woo. Then I went to Linda Hill's site called the Sabian Symbols. And, you know, it's a really good site. You can go there and you can just ask a question. And she uses the Sabian Symbols as a bit of an oracle. But she also has daybreak, the luminescence of dawn in the eastern sky. This symbol implies the gradual feeling that darkness is dispersing and that a new day is on the horizon. You may feel there is a chance for new beginnings. Things along the way have been sacrificed and there may be a certain emptiness, but you will see the light of day and move forward again. This symbol speaks of transition times, of letting go, of operating in the dark and moving into a new day with new plans and fresh solutions. New ideas, opportunities, perspectives, and realizations are emerging. Getting up at dawn and watching the sunrise can be a wonderful meditation for this degree. Gradual realizations of opportunities, new cycles beginning, leaving the past behind, dawn meditations, yoga, scenes of awe and amazement, light from the east, trusting in life, and the caution for this degree, being fearful and distrusting of new experiences or situations, or thinking that everything will be okay tomorrow, but not today, and feeling asleep and not waking up. Well, so even though this is a very good degree, there's a couple of cautions there speaking about if we want the light, we've got to move toward the light, right? If you want to bring in the light, you have to be the creator of the light. You have to participate in its luminescence. In fact, you are a part of its luminescence. Now, when we look at the sun and moon in your human design, we see that they are at gate 29. Now, gate 29 is sitting on the sacral and it's moving up. It's on the right, top right corner of the sacral center, moving up toward the identity center, where it would meet with one of the gates of love, the gate of the physical being. And it's not meeting up to that right now, but it's a gate about saying yes to the right things. So the gate 29 says making right commitments with the energy to persist in that commitment until its end. right? The problem here is that if you said no, I mean, if you said yes to the wrong commitment, then you use that persistence and that energy to keeping on, even if it doesn't feel good anymore. So you keep pushing and you can keep moving forward with that very powerful sacral energy and using it in a way that's persistent and in the face of something that's correct for you, that can be awesome. It can stand the test of time. It can see you from inception to beginning to middle to end, and then into the space beyond of the ending of something. But if you make wrong commitments, then you are, by saying yes to the wrong things, then you're tying up energy that will not be then available when the right thing does come along. So we spent a bit of time over the last few weeks talking about authority in your human design. So the first way to know if you're making a good decision is to do that according to your type and your strategy. Generators and manifesting generators are responding to something from their outer world, not from their inner world. Projectors are waiting for the invitation to come from outside of them as well, but an invitation. Reflectors are they're waiting their 28 days to make sure they're saying yes to the right things. And our manifestors are more the creative impulsives. They're being able to go out and start something, beginning something. They don't necessarily have to worry too much about if it's the correct thing or not, because what tells them it's correct is their heart's desire to do it. So that is what we all believe that we are, and that we are all here to just do what our heart's desires are in the moment. But really, it might be a source of problems for you if you're saying yes to everything that shows up, because then like I said, you tie up your energy into places where it's not necessarily the right place for you. So in the gene keys, when we look at the gate 29, we see in the lowest energy, the shadow energy is the shadow of half-heartedness. And that's what occurs when you have said yes to the wrong thing, right? Because you might say yes in the moment, even if you're emotionally defined, and later you're like, oh no, but now I'm committed, and now what do I do? And rather than throwing your whole heart back and soul into it, you sort of hold back a part of yourself, really in resistance to having said yes in the first place. And then that drags the energy down of the entire group or the undertaking. And so you want to make sure that you're saying yes to the correct things. Even with the gene keys, we can see that it breeds half-heartedness. In the gift, it's commitment, right? True commitment. And in the highest expression, it's devotion. So we see the sun and the moon sitting at a gate. That makes it very important that you know who you are, you know what's right for you, and you say yes to those things that are right for you. And you have to have the courage to say no if it isn't the right thing for you. So sitting here at the precipice of a new moon, we may have lots of different opportunities and things that are coming up for us over the next couple of days. So be aware of how it is that you are entering into something, what it is that you are saying yes to. All right, let's take a little deeper look at what Leo rules in a chart so that we have an idea of what to do with the new moon. Now, let me just review. Some of you are new and maybe you're not understanding what it is that we do at a new moon. A new moon is a time for new beginnings. It is when the whole cycle of the moon begins again, and the moon being very much a part of timing of everything on the planet. Hold on. The moon being a part of the timing of everything, we really watch her cycles, right? We go into the new beginning at the new moon, we come to the first crisis point a week later, then we go into the full moon, and then we go into another crisis point, and then we come to a new moon. So we have this cycle, and we chart our progress in our lives through this particular cycle. It's sort of like watching ourselves through the spiral of consciousness in the Pleiadian calendar, but with just one particular body, the moon. So the moon in Leo rules love and romance. Oh, let me finish. So if you're going to set intentions, right, this is the time to do it. This is the time to say, this is what I desire. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to have. This is who I want to be. This is who I want to attract to my life. This is what I want to attract to my life, etc. So the new moon is a time to set those powerful intentions. but reminding you all, because I did this to myself one day, is that your new intentions have to be set with fullness, with wholeness, right? You can't have a part of you that's so afraid that drags fear into the progress that you'll make in that intention. Now, if fear pops up along the way, that's one thing, but you have to go in wholeheartedly to the intention. And here are some of the areas that intentions can be powerfully placed during this period of time. So Leo, love and romance. So dating, children, intense love encounters, all of those things that you might want love and romance in your life. This is a time to set the intentions for that. But again, you're going to have some clarity around, what does that mean to me? What does love and romance mean? Is it temporary? Is it just having fun with, the idea of love and romance? Or is this love and romance leading to a relationship, that type of thing? What is it that you're trying to bring into your life? Is it there's a level of intimacy that's been missing in your life that you want to recall, and or create for yourself? Leo is the sign that you would use to be able to generate that kind of creation. Leo also rules creativity, so artistic expression, self-actualization of whatever it is that you're passionate about, following your passions. Another way to say that is to follow your heart, creating what you desire based on what is it that your heart wants. Really tapping into from, here, not up here. I didn't say tap into the mind, tap into the heart. What does the heart really want? And then giving the heart its creative space to be able to do that. Or in that case of setting intentions about how it is that you want creativity to show up in your life. Is it a new art project? Is it a new way of doing your business? Is it a new expression of a writing project or of an art project or any kind of thing that you want to create? This is a sign that is also concerned with giving love and receiving love. There's loyalty and generosity in this sign. There is bringing joy, bliss to the table and really living from that place. Encouragement, kindness, magnanimity are all Leo energies. If you could just boil it down to being generous of spirit, right? Being very willing to give and very open to receiving, as that is a flow of energy. You're going to hear flow again today too. So flowing with giving and flowing with receiving, being in that flow of generosity and giving. Fun and playfulness. This is a time for play, for games, for parties, for vacations, of course, wearing a mask or doing what you need to do with the right number of people for the area that you live in. That's my little disclaimer. This is a time for vacations or taking time off, time to play, of being entertaining that inner child, right? The part of you that says, let's just throw off the work and let's play, right? Let's do something playful. Taking risks for excitement is also maybe a good, bad thing. In the natural wheel of the zodiac, Leo rules the fifth house, and the fifth house has sometimes risk associated with it. Sometimes you could look at that as, anytime that you give your heart or that you put your heart out there, it is a risk, right? You risk being abandoned, you risk being rejected, you risk being finding the wrong person. I mean, there's lots of things that you risk when you risk your heart, when you put your heart out there. So here it is about taking the risk, living from the excitement of it all, and living from the heart, not just from the mind, right? The mind or even the spleen center in your human design can create a fear field. And if that fear field is triggered, then everything does not feel, it feels risky, not like you're taking a risk for excitement or for living from the heart. Now, when you think about the lion, right, the Leo lion, don't you think of nobility, right, of dignity? And that's a part of the element of this sign as well. Recognition, being seen, heard, valued for your contribution, being self-centered, right, being center stage, being a force of self. And in some ways, this comes up from self-confidence. Leo straddles sort of sometimes, I guess, kind of is, there's a divide here. On one hand, Leo can be very self-confident, and in that self-confidence, they shine out into the world with all the love and joy and playfulness that they bring to the table. On the other hand, if they're, especially younger Leos, they lack that confidence, then they're more shy and retiring, or they call attention to themselves like from the wrong side of the energy, right? More negatively. So self-confidence and powerful individualized expression is the high energy of Leo. They are determined leaders. These are leadership energies. And leadership is a sign, or the energy of leadership is one that is evoked by people asking you to become the leader via a vote or via a consensus of people that agree that you would be the best leader. If you are in a leadership position, this is good energy to have, right? It gives you that ability to focus on the needs of the many, of all the people that are there. It is when that energy of Leo turns to the more arrogant, narcissistic side that our needs as individuals are what we think of first instead of the needs of the many. So we have that, famous Star Trek thing, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. But in some cases, Leo turns this upside down and it becomes the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. And that can become the negative expression of Leo energy. But there is strength here. There is purpose, strength in purpose, finding your purpose, having stamina and the resources to be able to stay with something, the longevity. Leo is a fixed sign. Now with fixed signs, and you have Aquarius as a fixed sign, you have Taurus as a fixed sign, and we have Scorpio as a fixed sign, and we have Leo. And that Leo energy is resolute, right? It says it's given a decree and it's going to stick by that decree. And if that decree is incorrect or wrong, they're still going to live by it. So sometimes we have, that lack of flexibility that could pop up here. Is that something that's happened in your life? If it is, if you're not being flexible, then look to that Leo part of your chart and see if there's some kind of pressure there that's causing you to stay the course instead of to be more adjustable, more malleable. So in the negative expression of Leo, we have arrogance, we have pride. There are, of course, the drama-prone people, drama queens, drama kings. They can be selfish. This can be an energy where you end up more selfish than self-centered. It can be extravagant and generous and magnanimous in a way that depletes their resources. There's also bossiness. I remember a friend that used to be the boss. She was definitely a Leo. Now in the body, the sign of Leo rules the back and the spine, and exhaustion, including heat exhaustion, and the heart. So the heart is a part of the body that Leo rules, and inflammation in the body. So if those are issues that you're having and you want to set a new intention for healing something like that, then this is the sign for you to be able to do that with. All right, I'm going to go back to YouTube quickly, see if anybody's got questions or comments that I missed here. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel and Ursula. Sally Bowen says this new moon is on my Pluto moon conjunction in Leo in the 8th house. I think there's a big transformation going on here. I'm not sure how old you are, Sally, but you might want to look to how it is that your shared resources are being either shored up or undermined right now. And y'all, I had such a weird experience this morning, and now my door's moving, likely because we forgot to put the rock in front of it and it's breezy. But I was in the bathroom and I'm putting on my makeup, and all of a sudden I hear my husband's voice go, "Hey." And I look around, I'm like, he's on his way to work. That's not him. And then I hear it again, "Hey." And I'm looking all around. There is nobody. I go outside. I do a 360 around my house. There is no one out there. There's no one in my house. My cat doesn't say hey. She says meow, but she doesn't say hey. So it's already kind of a weird day here, as I don't know who that was, but someone was trying to get my attention. The eighth house is trying to get your attention there, Sally. And what is it that needs to go on here? Pluto moon conjunction is very powerful. It's very mothering. It can be very smothering. Are you holding on so tightly to something that this moon is asking you to release? And that might be a good transformation for you to make. Ursula says, good morning. Thank you for sharing Sabian symbols. I love them. I love the imagery of them. Daybreak. Yay. Daybreak. Yeah, I was thinking about that in the context of the opening of the Democratic National Convention last night. And I didn't get to hear the speech, but I heard that Michelle Obama gave a really rousing speech. Everybody really loved that speech. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to admire someone who can step up and, get people, bring them together, right? Or get them to be so avidly listening that they're really listening to what she has to say. And I'm sure there will be other speakers in that as well. J-Lo says, cool, it connects my hanging gate 46. Interesting, the moon is there in my personality. I also have both centers defined. And, the 4629 is what J-Lo's talking about. The 46 is on the identity center. It is the gate of the love of the physical. And then the gate 29 is the gate that the new moon and sun will be at, with the energy of saying yes, or it's called the gate of commitment. That whole channel, when it's defined like this, is called the discovery channel. And it's discovering for yourself what it is you really desire, what really makes you excited. But that particular channel is difficult sometimes because it can be, there's a lot of life force energy that is being sort of moved up toward the soul center, the identity center. And depending on whether you have that defined naturally in your chart or not, suddenly you might identify with something, saying yes to something that ends up not being correct for you. Using that energy incorrectly can cause twisting in the body. So we see sometimes people with scoliosis that they're using their will inordinately, or they're using that sacral energy incorrectly, saying yes to too many things, and it ends up twisting their body in some way. It has real physical ramifications when you're not using the energy appropriately, saying yes to the right things. So it's an important part of the energy here. Ursula, without being political, I was amazed by Michelle Obama's speech last night and reminded of Jung's symbol of the Black Madonna rising as the counterpoint to white male Christ. Ah, that's true. That's very true. I didn't think about that. Ursula, you're always so good at bringing up new things for us. J-Lo, thank you so much. She says, please take a moment and hit the like button, show some love. Thank you. Thank you. Augustina, hello. And Adrienne Jones, good morning. And Ursula says, the rise of the feminine may just be this Leo call to open all hearts within the light of this new moon. Just adding this thought to our conversation. So let me add another thought to this conversation, because I don't know if you all noticed, without me even saying it, that the planet Mars and Eris are in a conjunction today during this new moon. And so talk about the rise of the feminine, right? This is women tired, the feminine, tired of being pushed down, and tired of being abused or misused, and tired of taking a back seat to the masculine energy, especially when she was originally meant to be the one in the front, right? It's the leader energy in the feminine that sets the tone for how the society will work. And without the voice of the feminine, then the society works based off the masculine. And the masculine has, as you can tell, caused some chaos here on the planet, because the masculine energy is wearing two hats instead of the one hat that it was meant to wear. So the feminine need to rise up and greet the masculine hand in hand. So beautifully epitomized in the picture of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, I don't want to get into a discussion of who's good and who's not, because I know I can hear people out there going, yeah, but he's a blah, blah. I'm not talking about that. Just look at the symbolism of the white patriarchy hand in hand with a person, a woman of color and of varying background, hand in hand, right? It's just symbolically Mars and Eris, right? She's really kind of an Eris character anyway. And even if she isn't, we will project our own Eris projections outward onto her. And just like the patriarchal energies are being, projected out onto Biden. So it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. Whether you like them or not, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about the politics of it, but the symbology of it is striking. Paulina, glad you are back. Hello, it's good to see you, Pauline. And she says, when is Human Design Group Meet YouTube? Is that for monthly membership, interested in beginner? What I think what you're talking about is the series that I'm beginning on September 1st in Human Design, taking people through from the very beginning, an introduction to human design. We're going to take all the steps, and that is for people who are in the membership. So I'm going to be putting out some advertising on that here this week, where you can choose to join the membership and be a part of that. I'm not sure if I will package it up and sell it later to the people who are not in the membership, but this was specifically for members of the Academy. And we're gonna delve deep into human design. I hope you guys are ready, because it's going to be a lot of information, but also really good. So that's what I was talking about with that, Pauline. Pauline also says, rising in Leo, Uranus and Pluto, both retro in my natal first house, North Node in Leo, first house as Leo. Are you born in 1961? Because you're kind of reading off the same planets that I have sitting there, except for the Pluto's not there. Pauline says, what does the symbol looks like an E and an E? I'm not sure. You might have a symbol that looks like an E. I don't know, sweetie. I'd have to look at your chart. Allison, this month is the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote. Woohoo! And Jose, nice to see you out there. Pisces age shift to Aquarius age. Indeed. I really think if you had to have a date where that shift really becomes possible, December 21st this year, where Jupiter and Saturn conjunct at 0 Aquarius. Now we've been there, 1960. So you're at the end of 1960, and that brings you to the same sort of setup that I have in my chart. So when we look at the energy of Aquarius, there's, like any sign, there's the high side, and then there's the more negative side. And Aquarius just happens to be the opposing sign to Leo. So there's a lot of Leo, some of the more negative Leo sign energy can be pulled into Aquarius. As well, Aquarius has a real hallmark of wanting freedom and space, and has the high technology sort of roots. And so the age of Aquarius ought to be really very interesting. And it is a sign of equality. And there's another symbology that keeps hammering around in my brain. It's that we call the sign of Aquarius the water bearer. And the water bearer, to me, because it seems out of context, doesn't it? I mean, all the other signs you can see, Gemini, the twins. Okay, we got that. Leo, the lion. Yeah, we got that. Scorpio, the scorpion. We got that. But when you go to Aquarius and you see the water bearer, I've never been able to get the symbology. But lately I am getting the symbology because of the emotional component of water, and how the water is contained in the water bearer, right? It's in a vessel, and it's being poured out of the vessel by a human, right? Humanity, and sort of androgynous. I'm not sure if it's meant to be androgynous or if it's meant to be more masculine. It's hard to tell when you look at the symbol, but it's being poured out. And to me, that reminds me of the solar plexus evolution that's happening. And the problem with our emotions at this point in time is that they are high highs, low lows, right? They're reactionary to what is happening. And Aquarius energy with that water sort of contained in a vessel makes me think of being able to master our emotional selves, right? To be able to pour out emotion in its correct form. And so that took me a while to come to that. But to me, that's what that age of Aquarius is really looking like, getting a hold of our emotions, the emotional energy, and what does that mean for us? And learning to be less reactive and more in response to what is showing up in your world. So I think, we have all of that playing in the background as we begin to move into the age of Aquarius. Patricia, happy birthday to your son. Puffing Pixie, ooh, this new moon is conjunct my North Node too in the 12th house. Funny thing, guys, I took a webinar on Sunday, I don't know what day it was, Saturday morning, because it was before the birthday party, on the 12th house. Fascinating place. And it made me realize that I want to do a series for those of you here in the morning. We probably won't start this until later in the week, or maybe even wait until next week, where we take the houses apart, like I'm doing for human design, taking apart human design for the membership. Here we'll take apart the houses and look at the houses of the chart, because I think there's something really fascinating about doing those things, pulling them apart, right? Simplifying them, and then you can put them back together in a way that makes it right for you. So yeah, so that's something to look forward to here in the morning. All right, let's finish our new moon. What time is it? Okay, so new moon has several transits, or several aspects, not transits, aspects that are activated. And it gives this feeling, there's something about this new moon that gives me the feeling of the foot on the gas and the foot on the brake at the same time, where you are lurching forward, but you're also stopping at times. Like you can't just go on full on. And as I looked at the chart of the new moon, which, let me bring that up for you guys. Let me put that there, and then I will open up the chart for the new moon. The moon is, the moon and sun both are in an inconjunct to the planet Saturn. So if you follow this green dashed line here, here is our sun and moon in Leo at 2635. And up here we have Saturn at 2635 in retrograde Capricorn. So we have this activated. And, Saturn activated in Capricorn has really been about having a goal, building the new based on a plan. And this new moon in Leo says, we're following our heart, and we're following that youthful exuberance for doing something. But it's also a cautionary tale to not just do willy-nilly all over the place. Let's just go fly, be free. Let's do it with a plan. Right? So we might have to adjust the plan accordingly. We might have to rein in the heart energy just a little bit so that it can be focused and moved in the right direction for us. So Saturn here in this inconjunct, or quincunx is another word that we use for this, in our charts, is actually showing us where we might need to do a little more foundation work before we just run off, right? And we just fly off the handle. So finding Leo in your chart and then finding Capricorn in your chart will give you the houses where this is taking place. Interesting, because this particular chart is showing us Leo energy in the 5th house. So the 5th house heart energy, wanting to run and be free and express and be creative, is being a little bit reined in by the 10th house in this chart, of the 10th house of career and profession and your authority, by Saturn in Capricorn saying, build it with a plan. Otherwise, it's all built on sand, and the first big windstorm that comes along can knock it off its foundation. So we have this element. It's the only, I think it's the only break in this, break as in foot pedal brake, in all of the energy of the day. And it's just saying, okay, go for it, but go for it with a plan. Have a goal, have, steps, step by step, because that's what's favored, right? Saturn is the taskmaster, and he will also be the meter of karma if you don't do things in the right way. So do it right, and do it with stability in mind, do it sustainably, and do it with a plan. And then follow your heart along the path of that plan. It's not saying you can't just follow your heart and do what you want to do. It's saying if you want to do it, you got to do it with steps. You got to take some steps. You can't just like throw it out there and say, come to me. I guess you could, but that Saturn is saying, okay, but you live on a physical planet. You live here in the physical. You have to do something with it, right? And I remember years ago when I was first learning metaphysics, there was this sort of premise that said, if you give 15% of the effort, the universe will pay you in kind 85%. Basically, you take the first step in that direction, the universe will help you pave that way and show you what the next step is, step by step. All right. Now, the other interesting thing is that the sun moon here is in a trine to Eris and Mars. And I still cannot get that symbology out of my head of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, just that symbology of the two of them representing this Mars and Eris energy and the new beginning available here when we can rein in that energy of Eris for productivity, Eris and Mars for productivity, taking that high energy and that action-oriented energy and that passion and pointing it in a direction, putting it in a trine says it's an ease of the flow of the energy, but can also get lazy. So there's sort of this message here that if we want to embrace these new energies, this bringing together, this new dawn, what was it that we said here with the dawn, right? Moving into a new day with new plans and fresh solutions, that we actually have to, again, do something, right? We can't just expect it just to happen in the void. We have to actually take some steps. Now, also the new moon in a sextile to the north node, but also in a trine to the south node, and the south node conjunct the galactic center. So again, we have this tapping in, tuning in to destiny, and tuning into destiny even in your own chart. So some things that seem to be happening in our world are sort of almost looking like they're out of our hands. Like there's this gigantic play about, right? That there's this, I get the symbology in my head. I cannot bring it into words, but it's almost like this parade of this evolution that's like playing out right in front of us, right? And we see it symbolized in the characters on the stage, and including in your own life, your own personal life. You're one of the players on the stage. And what are you seeing? And how are you tapping into that destiny? Are you tapping into the cosmology of it all? The rightness in whatever it is that's happening out there, and rather than getting into the pettiness of what these energies trigger in fear and in division and in polarizing everything. So there's a bigger thing going on, I guess is what you could say. There's a bigger plot behind the scene. And that's maybe what we don't always tap into. But here we have the opportunity with this new moon to tap into that, and tapping into the destiny that you have in your own chart, and how that plays out in your personal chart. Mars is also conjunct Eris, which we are speaking to even here. This is a bit of a rebellion, throwing off restrictions, throwing out the old, and wanting to bring in the new. Yet, we have to remember that Saturn is involved here as well. And Saturn says you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't dump it all out and, stir it all up and start anew. You got to take the best of what's been already there and build upon that, right? So we can't throw everything away, but we can certainly create. There's a little bit of chaos being created here with this, right? There's always chaos in the beginning. Anytime we set out to change a paradigm or to shift something in our lives, or even on the planet, in any way that we shift something, there's always that chaotic first beginning. Those first steps are often marred by that chaos. And here we have it sort of in spades right here. I wrote it down, right? Rebellion. Ooh, yep, we see that. We can see that happening in the politics. We can see it happening in our communities. We can see it happening in our institutions. We see it everywhere, symbolized as the breaking down of the old, the glaring unsustainability in the old, but yet there's some basic truths there that we can build upon. So that's what we need to choose, which brings me to our day today, the 6 evolving energy. Evolving in the Mayan calendar was Kaban, and Kaban was representing an earthquake or a shaking up of something. So the 6 evolving energy says there may be some shakeups coming. There may be some things that we don't like. There may be some things that are disturbing at best. And it's best for us to evolve, right? To go with the flow, to travel that path. and just go in that direction. The energy of Kaban shakes things up from the core. It is one of those things that creates an opening for us to change. But sometimes we're so stubbornly entrenched in our way of thinking, in our way of being, that we have to have some kind of a shake up. And so Kaban comes along and shakes up and wakes up some of us in some ways. Remember, the umbrella energy for this week in the Pleiadian energy, this 13-day period of time, which we're just approaching the halfway point in, is about choosing, right? It was that we were coming to the fork in the road. We either choose love and we choose from that place of the heart, or we continue to choose from the mind and from the fear field, and from the continued division and polarization, and the he said, she said, and the conspiracies and the all of that. Or we choose from love that says, all of that may be true. We don't know for sure what's true, but I'm going to follow my heart, and I'm going to move into this energy of love and creation and passion, and starting at the building from the ground up of something new, right? Something worthwhile, something sustainable. So we have some really cool energy for the day today, but also encapsulating this entire period of time. There was also something going on. What was the other thing here? I guess I did speak to all of them. Oh yeah, yesterday, because I wasn't here yesterday, we didn't talk about the sun and Mercury coming into a conjunction. So the sun and Mercury were in a conjunction yesterday. Well, Mercury is darn near still in a conjunction with the moon and in this new moon period of time. You see the sun and moon here at 26 degrees and Mercury at 28 degrees. So while the closest aspect is to Saturn in the inconjunct, Mercury is darn close, right? So we have Mercury also having been given new marching orders, perhaps by the sun in their conjunction, saying, go out and spread this message of love, of heart-centeredness, of living from your passion, living from the heart. And that's what Mercury's taking up his new cause for. In the next couple of days, he moves into Virgo. So he'll take that energy of the ideas and the expressive energies of Leo and put boots on them and put them to work. So kind of the harbinger of things to come later this week when the sun moves into Virgo. And by the way, the sun conjunct Mercury represents the halfway point between Mercury's cycle, his retrograde cycle. So I don't know if this makes you feel better or worse, but we're halfway now to the next retrograde cycle. That's just what the sun and Mercury coming together usually represents. Now, I have some questions for you for the day, maybe to contemplate before you go into the new moon. And that this was coming up for me this morning as I was looking at the moon today before we get to the new moon. And that is that we have already gone into the trine with Mars. It's already there, right? If we look at this chart, this is the new moon, but the new moon was just a couple degrees behind the sun at the point I was pulling up today's chart. And the sun is at 26 degrees, Mars is at 24 degrees. So they're already, applying pressure to one another. So Mars applying to the sun in this case. And when we are doing this, we have a question. What are we prepared to do before the new beginning? Before the new beginning with tonight's new moon, what are we prepared to do? And that might mean, what are you willing to let go of? Right? Are you willing to let go of the old? Are you willing to live from the heart and from your passions? Because if you're not willing to, then there's no words that I can say to make you understand that that is a choice that you're making right now. The choice you're making right now is, do I leave behind all of that chaos and all of that rhetoric and all of that BS that's happening out in the outer world in favor of moving toward the heart and choosing then what I do in my life, what I spend my money on, who I vote for, what I do with my energies in my work, and fall toward love? Or am I going to keep going toward fear? So a choice. We're at that choice point, as Greg Braden would say. He calls them choice points in the Mayan calendar and in the Pleiadian earth energy. What I would say is you are choosing, and in any moment, every decision you make, whether to read something or not, whether to go somewhere or not, whether to start something new or not, you're making a decision, and the decision that you make should be coming from the heart, or is what we are aiming ourselves toward being able to do. We're going to fail miserably at it. I know it, because we do it and we fail, and then we get ourselves back up again and we try it again. And eventually we succeed in making key decisions in our life that are based in our heart center. But if you don't try it, you won't exercise that muscle fast enough, good enough to be able to go where we need to go. So got to live from the heart. There's also Venus today in a sextile to Uranus. That adds an element of the unexpected today. Trying out maybe new ways of being in relationship, new ways of relating to all things, maybe making money in how you express yourself and how you live within relationships that you're in. Here is our opportunity to be more bold, to be more heart-centered, right? Venus rules our values and our relationships and our money. So being more bold, being more innovative in the way that you relate to everything that is in your life, and not shying away from asking those questions about, am I living from my heart? Am I living from my passions, or am I just existing? Right? Am I just existing? Because I think the more negative energies out there are far more appealing when you're just existing, right? Because if you're living your passions, you don't have time for all of the discordant and deceptive energies out there. If you're living from your passion, you're living from your passion and you're moving in that direction. So the question is, are you willing to live from that place, right? All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Take one last look at questions over in YouTube. There we go. Jose says, when I get offered water, I grab a lovely connection and greatly appreciate it. I can see it as essential worker is to support or recognize those that support the essential workers. And, you know, there's, what do I want to say about that, Jose? Because I know that you're a mail carrier. And right now, the mail in the US here is totally under attack, right? The US Postal Service, right or wrong. Again, it's just another one of those institutions that's crashing and burning for whatever reason, whatever the tool or the mechanism is, isn't the point. The fact is, it's another institution under assault, right? We've had the economy, we've had the government, we've had our constitution here in the US, we've had our healthcare system, our education system, we've had all of these things that have been crashing and burning around us. And here's just the next iteration of that, the mail system. And I think there's something to be said about really valuing the essential, that's been a theme even with the coronavirus, the essential workers, the people that we count on when we're sick. We count on the doctors and the nurses and the facilities, and we count on them, being able to have the tools that they need to get us well. Same thing with the mail. It's an institution that we totally count on to get our information, our bills, or and all of that can be done a different way, granted. But the mail, being one of our oldest established institutions, requires our support. Otherwise, it goes by the wayside. And I get that that's just another thing that we're looking at. But those people as well are essential workers, and they deserve our support as well. So I just had to say that, Jose, sorry. Woohoo, I was just looking at the huge fire trine. Very nice, isn't it? It's nice to see, but it's also burns us up, right? It burns us up, burns off the dross perhaps, but it always can be used for passion. J-Lo says, feel it in my throat, being an earth sign, so I have to drink plenty of water these next few days. Everybody should be drinking plenty of water anyway. Okay, all essential workers are under attack, J-Lo says. Yeah, I think that. And Allison, great idea. She says, can we get a spirit animal for the new moon, for the collective? And yes, we can. So let's do that. So a spirit animal card, that will be our guide through this new moon window, helping us to align with our heart and our passions. Ooh, I like that. And to be able to, be maybe a voice of reason in a crazy world. Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, okay. We have a whole pack of animals that want to talk to us. Let's just pick one, however, okay? just one. All right. And we get seahorse spirit, watch and wait. That sort of feels like that Saturn energy in conjunct to the new moon, right? Watch and wait. It was upside down, so it's in protection. And it was number 53, which is an 8. Seahorse spirit, watch and wait. Let's look. 53 in protection. So, are you holding on to judgment, sure that your perspective is the only correct way to look at things? There are as many perspectives as there are creatures in the sea, and when seahorse spirit appears, you are reminded to detach from the experience so you can view it from more than one angle. Pay attention to your hidden beliefs and how they affect the way you think, feel, and act. Are you being fair to all involved, or do you need to step back? Perhaps the drama you have been drawn into is your own. Whatever the actions of others, your challenge is to be non-reactive and not take their words or behaviors personally. Their turbulence may have little to do with you, so remain neutral until you know more. Your perspective may be quite different in time. Well, when you have a lot of fire energy, you have a lot of potential drama. So stand back, watch and wait, and stay in your heart. Stay in your heart. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Unbelievable. The weeks fly by. And we will be, I'm not sure if there's anything big going on tomorrow, but if not, maybe we'll start our look at the houses tomorrow. We'll see what the day brings. Anyway, take care, and I will see you all tomorrow morning. Hopefully no computer issues. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.